Hello everyone, Pulse here and welcome to another episode of Delving Deep ESO. Now in this episode we're going to discuss Lycanthropy, aka werewolves. Mainly because Zenimax recently put up a nice first look article on the subject matter, and even though actual gameplay detailings are relatively non-existent, I wanted to discuss some things about the article and speculate a little bit based on the word usage and the sentence structure in the actual article, and speculate a bit as to maybe what we can expect from werewolves in Elder Scrolls Online. But we're going to start with a brief overview of the article. Now the article, as you would probably expect, is a very vague and non-detail oriented first look at werewolves in Elder Scrolls Online, and it's more about the development process, mainly with some mentions on how Zenimax came to decide on the thematic direction for Lycanthropy, the art and sound influences, how the lore influenced their decision to implement werewolves into Elder Scrolls Online, and some other nice details. Overall, it's actually pretty well done, and the article itself actually kept me engaged enough to read it in full, which is not something I can say the other articles done in this manner have actually been able to do, so props to them for some nice engaging writing. But let's get into the speculatory stuff, shall we? Let's get into the fun bit, I'll call it. Now the first little bit that I found interesting was this quote: "You'll encounter werewolves in your adventures through ESO. You might even find yourself afflicted with their transformational disease." Now, I have to admit, I've assumed vampirism and lycanthropy would be handled pretty blandly in Elder Scrolls Online, mainly through kind of this offset clump of quests which were related to either vampirism or lycanthropy, and by doing them you would end up by unlocking the form in question, with potential for another questline perhaps to open up and allow you to remove the curse if you so wish. However, reading this line has me wondering if Zenimax maybe did something really unexpected by allowing the disease to be passed via infected mobs and maybe players even. That would be pretty awesome if implemented correctly, mainly because it would give a much more immersive feel, much more believable feel, because if you just have a quest to go out and do it, everyone's going to go and pick it up and they'll give it a go, and then they'll either decide if they want to or not. This way there's a little bit more randomness, and you'd kind of have that shock factor of, holy shit, I just got infected by a werewolf, what's going to happen now? I think that would be pretty cool. That would add a little bit more legitimacy to the actual lycanthropy and its spread and all that. Now the next bit that was interesting is this: the werewolf's model and combat animations need to convey a sense of unrestrained savagery. Werewolves use their incredible strength to leap through the air towards their unfortunate targets. They devour them with fervor. Now, at this part in the article, they have a picture of the models that they are using currently for ESO, and I suppose it's supposed to be the human version of the werewolf. It's okay, I suppose. It's kind of subjective as to if you like it or not. I'm not sure if it really fits the Elder Scrolls feel or not. I suppose it does, but something about the ears in particular was driving me crazy. I don't know. It didn't seem very wolf-like, but maybe that's not Elder Scrolls. I'm not amazingly familiar with the lycanthropy stuff, to be completely honest. Now, also, this bit about the extra long leap through the air towards their unfortunate target is essentially confirmation in my eyes that through the lycanthropy skill line and werewolf transformation, players will have the ability to use a skill that will leap substantial distance to either close the gap on their prey or be used to chase down fleeing foes or what have you. I think that's something that we're absolutely going to see, is a skill that will let you just jump huge distance to attack your target, either from hiding or, as I said, chasing them as they try to flee. Now the next one is in the game, you'll find that the abilities in the werewolf skill line work together, allowing you to take advantage of interactions that amplify the thrill of the hunt, making you a more efficient killer and even extending your blood frenzy. All of the abilities put you in the role of the hunter, always in control and right on the heels of your prey. Now this last bit of kind of gameplay hints really got me speculating quite a lot as to what we should and maybe expect from the werewolf gameplay. As mentioned a second ago, the long distance leap to take enemies by surprise or catch them running away. We also have the mention of this new blood frenzy kind of thing. This could be a couple things in my eyes. I mean, it could be a stacking blood frenzy kind of buff, which grows with each hit of a particular skill maybe, or it grows with each kill. Perhaps such a stacking buff like this is tied to certain skills, as I mentioned, or maybe it's done in a way that it's actually like a new resource that the werewolf has to manage while in their werewolf form, where maybe proper maintenance of your blood frenzy resource or buff stacking is required for maximum effectiveness. That would be pretty cool, and I think that would give something a little bit more interesting, especially considering that maybe werewolves don't have to manage their stamina and their magicka as much. Instead, they would have a brand new resource that works completely different than what we have available as humans. Zenimax could also do something much simpler, to be honest. They could have simply an ultimate ability that turns you into a werewolf, and maybe the blood frenzy is them talking about how through certain skills or maybe killing, it increases the duration of it. I'm not really sure how that would go over with the test community. It could also be something like the human player has the ultimate ability and it turns them into the werewolf, and that's the only way that they can use lycanthropy spells, and instead of an ultimate meter, it's changed into a blood frenzy meter maybe, and it would slowly drain, and instead of having like a timer on it, it would be based on how many kills you can get or certain skill usage or something like that to increase your blood frenzy. So theoretically, through really intense and quick play and smart play, you could keep your ultimate up near indefinitely while in combat. Maybe that's what they're going for. Again, I'm not really sure how that would flow with the test fans and how they want it. I would expect test fans to want something more permanent, so that it's not just a fire it off, use the ultimate, and then go back to your usual human self. I think being a werewolf comes with a little bit more baggage than that. Now finally, I wanted to mention this bit about Thrill of the Hunt, which is supposed to be a major part of the werewolf lore and gameplay. Thinking about hunting mechanics and how it could work in ESO, I fully expect tracking to be something a werewolf can do. Now I could be wrong, but I don't think there's any other abilities that I've gone over in the skill lines that have mention of a tracking feature. They could do something very basic on the werewolf by having track enemy of such and such type, like track beast or track human. Very WoW-esque if you want to look at that. The hunter had abilities like that where it would just highlight enemies on the map. In this case, it would maybe highlight a dot on your map bar as to an enemy that's close to you, so you could track them down and know their general direction. Or maybe they could do something much cooler, which would be an invisible trail of smell that, when activated, the werewolf would be able to see this line on the ground leading them in the general direction of their prey. Maybe you'd have to target them with the spell prior, so you'd have to maybe leave them with a blood mark. So that could even be like a tracking skill where you hit them, they have this blood dripping mechanic or such and such thing, and you can follow that smell of blood and you track them. And what really got me thinking about this was this idea that you have a stealthy little bastard fighting you, right? And you get the upper hand actually, and he goes to run. He tries to juke you around a tree or around a building, and he gets all stealthy and cozy. He thinks he's safe, and next thing he knows, he's got a werewolf on his ass with a big old grin and eating his face off, because you can't hide from the werewolf by disappearing. But you know what, guys? I think that's going to do it for me on this episode. It's a little bit shorter than usual due to the lack of substantial news about ESO in the current, but I think some werewolf discussion should hold us over until some more news comes our way. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this, by all means hit those thumbs up and subscribe buttons before you go. Make sure to also leave a comment down below on Lycanthropy. Are you looking forward to being a werewolf yourself, and what kind of skills and implementations would you like to see utilized to best portray the werewolf in all of its potential glory in Elder Scrolls Online? Thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.